Good morning from the home office. Happy Friday. Hope everybody had a great week. We've got a little bit of a crisis going on, and it's going to affect everything and everybody if something doesn't happen pretty quickly to change it. And this has evolved in the last 7 days. And so don't be surprised that you haven't heard about it yet. You're going to start hearing about it here in the next few days. And wanted to kind of describe it to you. So I actually found this article that actually describes it very well and wanted to get that in your hands, but also kind of do a little explanation video as well. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and we came up with this metaphor to describe what's going on. So imagine for a second that you're an investor and you own, let's say, 20 rental properties, and you've hired a property manager that's going to collect the rent for you and then pay you. Now, you've worked out a really good deal with this property manager, and they have to pay you rent regardless of whether the tenant pays them, right? So if a tenant misses a payment, they're still sending you that payment. Great deal for you, and they're getting paid to manage that risk. Now imagine for a second that coronavirus hits, and all of a sudden, let's say 2/3 of those tenants can no longer afford to pay their rent. The bailout that they've got puts money in their pocket, but not quite enough to pay you. Now, good for you, the property manager's taking on all that risk, right? Well, how long is it really going to take for that property manager to fail? And once they fail, now you are direct in line to get that rent, and you're not getting that rent. So how long before you default on your mortgage payments? And now you've got a situation where property manager's out of business and you're not getting rent, you're defaulting on your mortgages, you're going into foreclosure on those properties, property values crash, banks fail because you're not paying them, and all of a sudden the economy is thrown into pure chaos. Now, in that metaphor, the property owners per se are mortgage companies, or mortgage-backed securities rather. So the property manager would be a mortgage servicer who's in charge of collecting mortgage payments, and the tenants would be obviously the homeowners. When you're a lender and you're originating a mortgage, you need to be able to sell it to the mortgage servicer. And when you're a mortgage servicer, you need to be able to collect rent and pay the investors that have purchased the mortgage-backed securities. If any part of that breaks down in small numbers, there's reserves, there's hedge costs, there's things in there that help to mitigate and offset that risk, right? But when the system fails at this level, you really start to have problems in the market, and that's what's going on now. And so you'll see in this email that I have, I made the bold statement that jumbo loans, bond programs, and government loans are at risk right now, and that's absolutely true. And I'm going to warn you in advance here, because this is what happens anytime there's a crisis. You're going to have loan officers and mortgage companies that don't quite understand this stuff come out and say, hey, we heard companies stopped doing bond loans. We're still doing them. Come run to us. Do that. That's going to work in the short term, but probably in about 30 or 60 days, you're going to see those companies go under, literally the entire company go under, because they can't get those loans off of their books. And that means that they can't raise capital to fund new loans, which means they can't do business. I really believe that our leadership team here at Fairway is doing a great job of navigating all of that risk and making tough decisions. So right now, what's out? We're no longer taking new reservations for bond loans. We have frozen locking in jumbo rates for the next 2 weeks to see what happens with the jumbo investors. And why have we done that? Because the jumbo investors have backed out of the market. So there's really a limited number of people to lock with. And those companies have also threatened that, maybe we need to take 2 weeks off and see what happens before we accept new funds reservations. And government loans, that's the biggest impact to our business directly. We are now restricting, as of next week, government loan new locks to 660 credit scores. What does that do? Why would we do that? Well, having a lower credit score does indicate a propensity to not make payments if you're strapped, right? And higher credit scores seem to indicate a ability to keep making payments even if your income took a hit for 30 to 60 days. Not an exact science. I didn't create that correlation. But that's what's going on in the market. And we've actually already heard of other lenders beating us to the punch on making these restrictions. So again, you're going to see some lenders that don't, and they might not have anybody to offload those loans to, because we aren't making these rules. We're following what the investors are saying they want right now, because we need them to buy the loans off of our books so that we can turn around and fund new loans. And if at any point that stops happening, business absolutely shuts down. And if business for us absolutely shuts down, that means you're not going to be able to sell homes to qualified buyers, and you're not going to be able to represent buyers that are in these troubled positions, or even well-qualified buyers, that if lending tightens up and we can't lend on regular loans because we have, low FICO, VA, FHA, bond loans on our books, that restricts all lending. It doesn't just restrict that lending. So that's what I want you guys to understand. And that could even, impact cash buyers not wanting to be in the market because who wants to buy a house that they really don't believe they're going to be able to sell. So this has pretty far-reaching consequences. It's happening in real time. This is happening right now. You haven't missed anything. You're ahead of the game by knowing this information. So take time, educate yourself, and be ready when this stuff starts happening, and be the voice of calm and reason and understanding while everybody else is freaking out because they don't understand what's going on. I'm going to be tied up with a manager meeting here for the next couple hours, and then I have to attend a loan closing, and so I'll be tied up here for a little bit, but I'll be available this weekend. If you want, give me a call. We can talk through some of this stuff. This isn't the only thing going on. This is just the most pressing thing going on. So lots of turmoil in the market right now, lots of maybe opportunity. Let's just be smart about it and communicate. Thank you.